Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, before I get started, I just wanted to remind you all to support my channel, New Possibilities, by making donations. I will include a link in the description box. Also, I will include a link in the comment section. These donations will go toward improving the quality of this channel. So far, I have raised $78. And again, the first purchase that I'm going to make is for a new computer. And you all understand the story with the computer. I won't go into detail right now, but I want to thank those who have made donations. I really appreciate your support. So for this video, I'm going to talk about Trump's budget. I did an earlier video where I talked about how he was going to cut funding for HUD by $6 billion. And he recently released his budget, and it in fact confirms that he is cutting the funding for HUD by $6 billion. Now, this budget has to be approved by Congress, but I want to go into this budget because this budget is going to have a devastating impact on Black communities, on poor communities, and just on America, period. So he's cutting HUD by $6 billion. He's going to cut community development programs by $3 billion. That means programs designed to provide affordable housing, programs designed to address the problem of blight in Black communities and poor communities. Also, he's going to cut $35 million from programs like Habitat for Humanity, programs that build affordable housing for poor people, and other similar type of programs. There are drastic cuts to the Environmental Protection Agency. So that means that our environment is in jeopardy. Here in Maryland, that means that there will be less funding for cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay. I mean, people use the bay for recreation, like they swim in the bay, and also people catch crabs and fish and oysters from the bay. So our local economy is dependent upon the bay, for food sources and for all the recreation around people going to the bay. So without this kind of funding to improve the bay, that puts Maryland in jeopardy. Also, he's going to cut community block grants. He's going to eliminate community block grants. And these are grants designed to fund 1,000 local anti-poverty plans. So there are anti-poverty plans all around the country that are going to be drastically cut as a result of this budget. And another thing that's surprising about this budget is that it cuts funding for different agricultural programs designed to improve rural communities. And many of these rural communities voted for Donald Trump. Many of these people supported Donald Trump. And it turns out that those communities, many of them who supported this man, are going to be adversely affected by this budget. Also, he's going to raid the Pell Grant reserves by, $4 billion. So $4 billion is going to come from the Pell Grant reserves. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Pell Grants are funds that help poor students attend college. These are grants for students with, from poor families and stuff like that makes it possible for them to go to college. So that whole program is in jeopardy because they're cutting it. They're taking $4 billion from that program. That means that it may be possible in the future that poor people, it'll be far more difficult for them to attend college. Also, you all are familiar with the fact that Donald Trump met with all these presidents from HBCUs, and that stands for historically Black colleges and universities. He met with them and he promised to provide them with all kinds of assistance to be Um, the president that does the most for HBCUs. But it turns out that he is not increasing any kind of funding for HBCUs. In fact, he talked about how he's going to maintain the budget for HBCUs, but the amount that he cited is actually less than the amount that is currently being paid out to HBCUs. So, I mean, despite that photo op with all those black presidents from those black universities, the bottom line is this man is not doing anything really to improve black universities. He's not providing any additional funding. That was just a photo op to pacify folks. And, it's just typical Washington stuff, man. They talk one thing and then turn around and do the completely opposite thing. Also, this man talks about how he wants to create jobs in urban communities, but this man is shrinking the Job Corps, which means it's going to be more difficult for people in struggling communities to get education, training, and jobs. Also, this man is substantially cutting funding for legal aid. And legal aid is a program that's designed to provide legal representation for poor people, for people that have lawsuits involving their landlords. For instance, if their landlord is not providing them with habitable housing, many times people go to legal aid for assistance. When poor people face different problems that need to be addressed through the legal system, they are dependent upon legal aid to protect their rights. But now, under Trump, he's cutting this program substantially. So that means that a lot of poor people are going to be in even more jeopardy. So the bottom line is this man is trampling on poor people. He is trampling on poor people, and he basically views these programs designed to help and assist poor people as being low priority programs, as if they're not important at all. Instead, this man has placed all value and importance in expanding the military, increasing funding for more bombs, more weapons, more soldiers, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is a man, after all, who did not even serve in the military. A man who didn't have the courage or the heart to serve in the military that he claims to support and love so much. And the reason why this whole thing is important to black people is because black people will be disproportionately impacted by these drastic cuts. Black people are disproportionately poor in this country. The poverty rate for African Americans is 27.4% compared to only 9.9% for white people. The poverty rate for black children is 45.8%. That means that 45.8% of black children live in poverty. I mean, that's outrageous that you have that large a percentage of our children living in poverty. And that's compared to only 14.5% for white children. So these cuts in these programs is going to have a devastating impact on our communities. And this is something that has to be addressed. It is something that is urgent. And as I said in my prior video, it is important that we lobby our members of Congress to make sure that this budget does not pass. This budget is devastating to poor people, to black people, to urban communities, to rural communities. It's devastating to the environment. It is a disaster. And it tells you a lot about this man's values. He does not value people. I mean, despite running a campaign about popularism, putting out this popular type of rhetoric, this popularist type of rhetoric, basically making it seem like he's a man of the people, a man of the workers. He's looking out for jobs and all that kind of stuff. When the fact of the matter, the opposite is true. He is nothing but another one of these elite one percenters who don't give a damn about the masses of the people. And it's time for the masses of the people to organize against this top 1%. We must organize, we must lobby our members of Congress hard, and we must put our bodies in the street and protest against this insanity.